The Zone is the home of boxing, with over 150 live fights a year.
It's over! There's no way back from this, surely!
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
How do you like it? How do you like it?
That is unbelievable.
These guys will be legends in their own country, but also in the international basketball world forever.
That is what sport means. That is what the EuroLeague trophy means.
Are you not entertained?
I'm not supposed to be cheering, but this is X Series. I can do whatever I want.
Everything is difficult in this life, so still you need to be on it.
It all comes down to tonight. Don't miss the biggest night in MMA. PFL is more than a fight.
Catching up on any NFL game is easier than ever before.
Looking to the end zone for the win! Oh my gosh, one of the great games you'll ever see.
The competition is back, and the UEFA Women's Champions League looks set to be bigger and better than ever before.
It's their time. A night to remember.
The following program is recommended for those 16 and over, as it contains sporting violence, possible bad language, and flashing imagery.
Hello and welcome to a brand new edition of Ariel and Ade. Yes, for the undisputed global home of boxing, we are doing, I do believe, our third show of the week. 3 shows, technically. We did one on Tuesday.
Oh, yeah?
We did one after the press conference at the Palladium in Times Square. We did an impromptu one on Wednesday.
Yeah, that one.
In the studio, impromptu, but it was sort of like a mini version.
Yeah.
It was kind of an hour, actually.
It was
a real life version.
About charging an invoice for that one. That was a friendly, I'm giving you a...
And now here we are with a third episode this week. It's great to have you here in New York. You need to come more often. It's different. You know, it hits different.
It does. And New York's so energetic. It's London on steroids, isn't it, really?
I'm not sure whether to take that as a compliment as a proud New Yorker.
London's the best city in the world.
Okay, all
so,
right.
yeah, the fact that I'm saying it's London, but maybe bigger and better and brighter is something. It's far too much for me, though. Well, I don't have the energy for this city. It's too much for me.
Well, you're in and out. You're out this evening.
I'm out this evening.
We did great things on Tuesday, great things on Wednesday. They asked us to go to Radio City. We said, no, we need to be here at the HQ, the home base,
we need to react to it here.
Yes.
With no outside noises, no influences, just us.
And that's what we're going to do.
Yes, sir.
We are going to react to what just transpired at Radio City Music Hall, one of the most famous venues in all of New York City.
Never heard of it.
Are you serious?
Never heard of it before.
92 years old.
3 days ago, didn't know what it was.
You're joking.
I'm not even joking. When I got to the hotel, I was like, oh my God, that's the venue. We're
Radio
doing
City,
something.
The Rockettes.
Never heard of it.
Midtown.
I did see that Kevin Hart is playing there tomorrow.
It's iconic.
Never heard of it.
You know, that's the difference between, me as like a worldly person and yourself. Like, I know about the Royal Albert Hall. I know about the O2. I know about, the OVO Arena. I know about the different spots. You don't know anything about...
I'm not even joking. Like, I wish I was joking, like, spin this around.
Yeah.
I have never, ever heard of radio.
Wow. Well, it's a big deal. It's a big deal that they had a press conference for a fight that isn't even happening here in New York City. It's happening on the 3rd of May in Riyadh, technically May 4th in Riyadh. in the morning,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
Sunday
Yeah, yeah.
morning. But here in the United States and in the UK will be the 3rd of May. It's Canelo Alvarez returning, and he'll be fighting for the first time in his illustrious career outside of North America. Yes,
find that crazy.
Mexico is considered part of North America.
That's incredible.
He'll be fighting in Saudi Arabia. He'll be trying to become a 2-time super middleweight undisputed champion. He's going up against the IBF champion William Skull of Cuba. And they held a press conference. Can I just say what I liked so very much about this press conference? 2 things. Number one, there were fans in attendance,
Yes.
which you could see added some energy.
Gives it something.
And they let the press ask questions
I'm very annoyed
at
by
a
this.
press conference.
I'm very annoyed by it. You are happy
What a
about
concept.
it? You're happy? For someone you should be. Actually, you've done press conferences with fans, so you've experienced this. I've done press conferences, and I begged for both of those things.
Yeah.
And I've only been given one. Sometimes fans, sometimes media, never together. And I'm like,
a new day in
what's
boxing.
going on?
It's a new
It
day.
better be a new thing. This better be it now going forward.
It's much better,
They can't
right?
go backwards on this. Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Only though, I think, 3 or 4 members of the media got to ask questions, but it's a start. And I'm happy for it.
Actually, not only did we get press questions, we also got a question from Turki Al-Sheikh himself.
Yeah.
The most powerful man
It
in all
wasn't
of combat
necessarily
sports.
a question. I almost felt like it was a statement.
Was it a statement?
I felt like a statement. Like, get your belt back because we have business to take care of September 12th. That's what it felt like to me. Almost a statement of, you better get your belt back. And Ken, I was like, I will.
All right, well, the belts have become a hot topic. In case you missed that interaction between Turki and Canelo, here's what the big man had to say.
For Canelo, there is one item missed from you. In the 3rd of May, are you get it back to be complete in the 12th of September in Vegas in the big fight? There is one item missed from you now. That belt. That belt.
But I got you.
Yeah.
Don't
okay.
worry. I got you.
Simple.
Okay, so great stuff. What's interesting about that is he mentioned September 12th again.
Yeah.
Yesterday, Turki and Dana White were on the Pat McAfee show, and Pat asked them, okay, when's the first event of this new, TKO/Turkey operation? It doesn't have a name just yet. At least we don't think there is a name that they've announced. And Dana's like, when we're ready, when we're ready, we'll tell you. And then all of a sudden, Turkey just drops, yeah, maybe September 12th. And then he says it again, which, by the way, September 12th is a Friday.
Yeah.
But there it is. There's another hint that perhaps the first big event will
unless
be...
he's teasing us and throwing us a big curveball here.
Yeah.
He's almost kind of putting the piece of the puzzle together. And I will take what Turkey says as facts and truth. I mean, he is the person, he's the muscle behind this, if you like, this operation. If he says 12th of September, and he said it now 2 days back to back, we know what that means. Although, again, I think me and you said this when we were, after the Ryan press conference, I hate the idea of planning for something before something's happened.
Yeah.
And look, I know Canelo is a massive favorite to beat William Skull, but the idea of planning for something before that event happens still scares me. I have nightmares of it. I remember when Canelo was supposed to fight Victor Ortiz many moons ago, and Victor was supposed to beat and run through a guy called Josecito Lopez. And Victor Ortiz got his jaw broken, and Canelo's ringside like, what do we do now?
Right.
So, sometimes, I don't really like when...
Well, that seems to be the norm these days with Ryan Garcia, with Devin Haney, to a degree with Teofimo Lopez, with Canelo. The one guy who isn't doing it is Terrence Crawford.
Yeah.
He's the one guy who's saying, I'm just going to wait for the big one down the line. Are you surprised that he's doing that?
Yes and no. Like, Terrence Crawford, and I love Terrence. I think Terrence is number 2 pound for pound. Some people will argue and say number 1. Fine, have it. But he's been a part-time fighter for the best part of 5 years. Like, Terrence only fights once a year. So at this stage of his career, 38, I don't expect him to change that. It works for him, and the performances show that it works for him. I think it would have been an ideal world to have a fight at least at 160, just so you can carry that weight up and see what it feels like to have that kind of weight on your back. But he's going straight for it. And look, you can understand why. The pot of gold is so big. I mean, Crawford's only really made big money in his last 2 or 3 fights. I mean, prior to that, he was making money, but nothing like he's making now. So I don't know what the check will be for Canelo, but it's going to be big. So why roll the dice at 38 when you know in front of you is the lottery ticket, and I'm talking the big lottery ticket. So
over in your neck of the woods, everyone's talking about Conor Benn and Chris Eubank and the weight difference. But if we're being honest, it kind of really is only like a 6-pound weight difference. If you think about the fact that Conor Benn's last 2 fights were at 154,
Yeah.
as of late, Eubank's been fighting at 160. We make the argument that it's 47 versus 68, but it really isn't. This truly is 47 versus 68. Crawford versus Canelo, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
One fight at 54. Yeah. And Canelo, super middleweight champion, right? Yeah. This truly is 47 versus 68.
100%. This is a career. I mean, when you look at their longevity in certain divisions, Crawford's longest period as a boxer is at 147 pounds. Canelo's longest period as a boxer is at 168 pounds. So that's what they are. That's what they really are. So yeah, this is a big jump. And it's not as though Canelo is a faded 168-pound champion. This is Canelo. I mean, if people were to draw up their pound-for-pound list, I think a lot of people will still have Canelo as a top 6 pound-for-pounder. So he's fighting a guy that is still a very, very good fighter. Naturally now, that guy at that weight, and a guy that I guess will be, come September 12th, undisputed, which says he's the best in that division. This is what Crawford's trying to eclipse here, which is kind of crazy.
So you're just dismissing William Skull.
What?
You just said he's going to be undisputed. Let's talk about it. And you know what?
I am.
He's a massive underdog.
I am dismissing him. And
he won the IBF vacant title back in October, and he really just kind of like stumbled into this, right?
Fight was, and by the way, I mean, go and watch the fight. I mean, it wasn't like he was at his brilliant best. He was good for the first few rounds, and the gas tank ran empty. And it's not just the fact he's fighting Canelo; it's the stage. He's fighting in Saudi Arabia, so it's away from home. Obviously, home is really Cuba, but he's been fighting in Germany. Now he's fighting in Saudi Arabia. I mean, 2 years ago or 3 fights ago, this guy was fighting people with records of 28 defeats and 15 defeats. So you're fighting Canelo. Like, he's never done a media week like this.
Yeah.
But even the media week will take it out of you, where you've got to come in on a Monday for media interviews, then Tuesday it's grand arrivals, then Wednesday, then Turkey's going to want to sit with you on a Thursday, then you got a press conference. He hasn't done anything like this. For Canelo, he's been doing this for the last 15 years. This is nothing to him. So forget what happens in the ring. Just the idea of what you've got to do before you even get into the ring, I think would be new to him. So this would be Mike Tyson. This would be bigger than Mike Tyson, Buster Douglas.
Well, there's one actual connection, if you will, a similarity between that fight and this fight. That fight happened in the morning.
Okay.
In the morning in Tokyo, right? And so I'm always a little bit worried when a champion decides to do this. Now, Canelo's a pro, and he'll probably show up, 2 weeks, 3 weeks early. He wasn't really asked that question. At least I didn't hear him answer that question. And of course, he's not going out there partying like Mike Tyson was in Japan. But, over in MMA, we saw with Leon Edwards, he had to fight at 5 a.m. in Manchester. He'd lost his belt. And so it always is kind of a risk. You have to reprogram your brain, your body clock, all these things. There's a lot more at risk, obviously, for Canelo Alvarez and William Skull. Now, we had the face-off. I want to react to the face-off because I thought there were 2 very notable things from this face-off. Okay. We were watching it in real time, and the first thing that jumps out at you is the size difference, right?
Yeah.
William Skull, 5'11". Do we have the face-off, guys? 5'11 and a half?
Okay, look, this is, I'm not going to take away from how big he is, but then I always go to the footwear. It's important for me. William Skull had Timberlands on.
Okay, but first of all,
still a couple more.
William Skull is currently listed at 5'11 and a half.
He's not 5'11, dude.
Canelo's 5'7 and a half.
Yeah, I'm 5'11. This guy's not 5'11. This guy's bigger than me.
I mean, that looks like 5'11.
That looks like 6'2".
Oh, you're actually saying he's taller.
I think he's taller. I think, look at it. Look, dude, he is enormous.
Wow.
I mean, Canelo,
I mean, the hat is a little bit big.
It's
like one of those,
but it's still big. I've been around Canelo for a long time now. I've met him in person, as I'm sure you have. He really is a 160 guy. Like, he's fighting out of his weight class.
Yeah.
I always feel like he gives away a lot when it comes to guys on the night in terms of size. Like, William Skull will probably be around the 200-pound mark on the night.
Yeah.
He gives away a lot. And this is, I guess, one of the reasons why he was kind of not wanting to fight Benavidez. Like, dude, you're going to be 220 in the ring. I'm not fighting you. Because he does give away a lot in size, and I think we saw it there. There's a big size difference. That won't help William Skull.
Okay, the other notable thing, guys, let's play the face-off one more time because we were just reacting to the size difference. Want to play it once again, and now pay attention to the second most notable thing. There's Turki Al-Sheikh in the middle. He's holding on to the Ring Magazine belt and the Undisputed title.
Okay, that's what you're doing.
They're face-to-face.
Where's the other belts?
It's a great shot. At one point, in a matter of seconds, Canelo reaches over, for his other titles.
Oh, does he?
He has the 3 other titles, obviously, right? And you'll see Turkey say, nah. That's Eddie Reynoso. He's like, nope.
Oh, interesting.
No belts for this one.
That's interesting. That's it then.
And obviously, William Skull's the IBF champion.
William didn't even try and reach for his belt.
Nah, William's
No, we're good.
William's fit's not bad. Shout out to William. Now, here's the thing. The reason we bring this up is because yesterday the big story was Turki Al-Sheikh and TKO, Dana White, Nick Khan, they have come together to form this new boxing league. And the thing that we were talking about together when you were on the program in studio was that they are essentially going to say, to hell with the IBF title, to hell with the WBC, WBO, WBA, all these titles, you're gone. The 3 letters, you're gone, and we're going to have our own. Now, you and I were debating, okay, so what are they going to do? They're just going to make a TKO belt, right? And then, you know, you're reacting, you're seeing things online, and the sentiment seems to be that they're just going to use the Ring Magazine belt as their belt.
Which makes sense. And I wish I knew it prior to our conversation, because my thing was, at the time was, okay, well, the TKO belt doesn't have the history of the WBA or all the other belts. Right? I mentioned the WBA because that's the oldest, right? Over 100 years. Obviously, Turkey responded to the clip of me and you talking about it and said, 1 second, we've got the ring belt, which is 103 years old. So that seems to be the thing. And that makes sense. Obviously, he's bought the Ring Magazine. It kind of makes sense because that's the belt you are going to want to use. And why try and create something new when you don't have to? We've got the ring belt. And for years, I've always felt like the ring belt, whoever has the ring belt is number 1 in the sport. Because there are so many belts. Who's got the ring belt? Okay, you're the guy or the person that is number 1. So it makes sense then, rather than starting fresh with a TKO belt, which wouldn't make sense, the ring belt being the belt.
You like
for the
this more
champion.
now?
I love this more. I think this just makes more sense if you're trying to give credit to a new organization, and that new organization has, I think, the best belt in boxing, because I think all the other belts have too many issues, then this one just makes sense for me.
And obviously, you don't want to introduce another belt into the equation, right? And so let me ask you, you say that you think that it's maybe like the most prestigious belt.
Yeah.
Is that a sentiment that is shared by all the hardcore boxing community?
I think so. And I think not just the hardcore boxing community, but when I speak to the boxers, they say it.
They feel that way.
They feel it, especially fighters that have a title in a division. They're like, okay, I'm the number 1 because I got the ring belt. So forget you that's got the WBO or the IBF. I've got the ring and I've got other hardware, but I've got the ring that suggests I'm number 1. So I think boxers share that sentiment, and I think fight fans are starting to understand it as well. Even the casual fight fans are starting to understand, oh, okay, 1 second, the Ring Magazine belt means that guy is number 1, because the water started to get very muddy when you still have 4 champions and there are 4 different belts. It's like, okay, but who is number 1?
Right.
And the ring guy. Kind of makes sense now, I think.
Very interesting. 24 hours later, not much from WBC, not much from WBO, WBA, IBF. You know, like no one's really said anything.
No one has not really said anything. No one has said nothing.
Well, that's true.
No one has said
but
nothing.
that picture right there, what we just saw, speaks volumes.
Yeah, it does.
This is the direction.
Yeah.
And I'm actually of the mind that the less belts, the better. Like you and I will talk about, Tank Davis versus Lamont Roach was for the WBA super lightweight title. No one really knows. No one really cares.
No. And what's more confusing about that as well is that both of them had belts in the ring. And I know Lamont Roach has got his belt coming up
moving
from
up, yeah.
the division, but it gets very confusing.
Yeah.
Like, okay, wait, who's the guy? Everyone seems to have a belt nowadays. And I credit Dougie because he kind of shut it down when Romero versus Ryan Garcia, I think we now know, is for the WBA regular title. So one of them is going to win a belt. What's going on? It's
a lot of this is self-inflicted.
100%.
We've just not had a situation where someone can come in and clean it all up. The funds, the know-how, etc., the willingness to do it. A lot of this is self-inflicted with the Super Continental and the interim titles and all this stuff. It becomes like I remember one time.
Champion in recess.
Oh gosh, I remember one time watching. I think was it Pacquiao? Who was it? Was it Pacquiao Mayweather? It was a big fight, and I remember Buffer. I think it was Buffer. It might have been Jimmy Lennon. I think it was Buffer who said something to the effect of like, and all the people that I was with had no idea if who was the and still, who was the and new.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Look at you and the fight we were just talking about. Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank. Are there any titles on the line?
Yes.
No, they're not.
I think an IBO middle.
It's nonsense.
It's not yet.
No one cares about. The point is, no one cares.
It's just the fights.
No one cares, right?
Yeah.
If you have a great matchup, no one cares. And if you
but
can
I will
have
say this,
one
I will say this. You are correct, but I will say in the last 4 years, we've seen way more undisputed title fights than I think I can ever remember. Some big ones as well.
Great.
I think we care when we 100% know it's number 1 versus number 2, and someone's going home with all that pot of gold. So you are without doubt number 1. We saw it with Fury Usyk, we saw it with Inoue Fulton, we saw it with Crawford Spence, we saw it with Bivol Beterbiev. I think that's when it matters. When they're not fighting each other, then no one cares. Like we've got a situation in the 135-pound division. We have 4 champions, 4 different belt holders, and I think we all know they're not fighting each other.
Yeah, no.
That's when it becomes.
And by the way, you know what's the irony in all this? If there isn't an IBF, if there isn't a mandatory, if there isn't a William Skull isn't getting this fight.
Yeah.
Like that system where like, oh, you need to fight William Skull, who isn't even in the top 10 in the other, rankings, right?
That's the problem. The fact that
this is the beginning of the end.
Skull,
yeah.
And I hate to do this to him because look, he's unbeaten, but the fact that William Skull is even fighting Canelo because he is the IBF champion says a lot about the IBF rankings. Like how has William Skull got to a situation where he is mandatory?
Right.
When again, as you look, and we can bring up his record. You can bring up his record. He's fighting guys that were 18 and 25 and 21 and 16 a couple of years. 25 defeats.
Yeah.
That's what you were fighting a couple of years ago to get into the position to be mandatory to take on Canelo. That
I saw
alone
some people
says the
saying Canelo's just cherry picking his opponents. No, this guy is the champion.
Yeah.
So if he wants to be undisputed, you have to fight him. What they're trying to change is the fact that he has to fight him, right? They want one set of rankings, top. Now, does everyone adhere to it? These are questions that are going to be answered over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. But it's funny seeing that scene play out there. If this goes the way they want it to go, these fights don't happen anymore.
Yeah.
These random IBF champion guy gets to fight the
I think Canelo
superstar.
wants to be undisputed again. Like, when we think of these options for May 3rd, do you think Canelo was like, okay, let's just become undisputed? Do you think this fight, September 12th, had to be undisputed?
I think it was the only other thing that made sense.
Okay.
Like, who else was there? A fight that isn't too big of a risk. There is a nice little prize that you win if you take the fight. If you're going to fight on May 3rd before a massive fight like Crawford in September, you might as well try to become undisputed for the second time.
Yeah, I think my thing, a bit like
you don't want that Christian Mbili smoke.
My thing was, and look, this is all old news now, but why are we waiting until September?
For Crawford.
Yeah. Why did Canelo Crawford not happen in May?
Too soon. What you think they were going to make this happen on March 5th and do a fight 2 months later? Too soon.
It's not like it needs any promotion.
Too soon.
It doesn't need any promotion.
I think too soon. It worries me when they take a fight beforehand. This worries me greatly. But September makes sense. You got to get the TV deals down.
I am so comfortable with Canelo. I know time difference. I know Skull being so much bigger and Skull being unbeaten. And Skull has this, and he does have a really good amateur record. I think over 300 amateur fights, so he can box.
Yeah.
No. And by the way, this is a Canelo that's obviously it's still very good. He's not Canelo Golovkin Canelo, first time or second time round. He's not that guy, but that guy was 100%. This Canelo is still 90-odd, 95. Skull isn't in the same stratosphere as Canelo Alvarez. And again, I hate doing this because you can't sort of do this to unbeaten fighters, but Canelo's too good for.
But remember, you can injure a hand, you can twist an ankle, something in train, you could get cut. A million things can happen. We hope that's not the case.
And that's why it's good that we have a 6-month gap into September. So even if you do injure a hand, even if you do get cut, we have
4 months
between
between May and September.
May is it 4?
Yeah. What was this math?
May.
6 months from now, but the fight is in May and then September.
Oh yes.
May is 5, September is 9. Let me ask you this. I remember we were in Las Vegas last May for the Munguia fight, Canelo Munguia, and the talk going into that fight was step slow, he's old, he could get caught, Munguia young, in his 20s, and then he wins that fight very easily, and then he wins the Berlanga fight very easily. I feel like that talk has kind of dissipated a little bit, right? I feel like those two performances, although he didn't stop them, got people off his back a little bit.
It showed that there are still levels
to
this, and that we discredited him because of the Bivol defeat. But now, in hindsight, that performance doesn't look too bad considering how good we think Bivol is. And I think you're right. I think everyone thought, okay, some of these young kids might cause him problems. It shows how good he is because Munguia's no scrub. Even with Munguia losing prior to that, Munguia was no scrub, and he kind of just banished him quickly, and then he banished Berlanga as well. Canelo's I think Canelo got a lot of heat because of the Benavides thing. Everyone wanted him to fight Benavidez, and for whatever reason, and we'll get into that, he didn't want to. And I think that's where the heat came from. I think people still recognize Canelo as a very, very good fighter. I just think the Benavidez thing, and maybe even a morale to an extent, kind of annoyed people because they wanted to see the next man up. And we never really got the next man up because there's no one on this planet Earth that thinks Berlanga was better than Benavidez or Munguia was better than Benavidez. I think that's kind of what annoyed Canelo fans and fight fans.
They didn't mention Martin Bakole against Efe Ajagba on the press conference today, or at the press conference, but it seems like that's going to be added. It's the fight that we thought was going to happen on May 2nd here in New York City, but for whatever reason, they're pushing it one day after the knockout. He needed one more day to get ready after the knockout loss to Joseph Parker. What they did announce, though, is Jaime Munguia against Bruno Saras 2. That was our upset of the year. Everyone's upset of the year, right? It happened in December. It was supposed to be a nice little tune-up fight. The odds were astronomical in Munguia's favor. It's in Tijuana. It's essentially his backyard, and he gets knocked out. Shocking, right? I mean, just absolutely shocking. No one knew of Bruno Saras of France. Like, who is this guy? And they're running it back. And this is interesting for a number of reasons. All of a sudden, Eddie Reynoso has put together one of the best stables in boxing. He's got Canelo. He's got Munguia now, which is really interesting. He got Ryan Garcia and Teofimo Lopez. What a freaking stable. This might be the best right now, right? I mean, what a quartet of characters.
In terms of star names, it's an incredible stable. And I like it for Canelo as well. Not so much the Munguia factor. I think Munguia benefits from being in the stable with Canelo, but I think Canelo benefits from being around young guys with energy like Ryan and Teofimo. I think he benefits from having those in his stable, just in terms of drills, in terms of energy, just to kind of keep up with those young pups. Ryan's been there before, and Ryan left. I think it's helped Ryan's maturity. I think you mentioned Ryan now looks a bit more mature.
Yeah.
It's certainly not helped Teofimo's maturity, so let's see what Teofimo can do when he gets
early
there.
Days.
It's early days, right? You're right. Give him time. But I like it. I think it's a great stable. I find it intriguing, but I think it's a great stable.
So, and I like that Canelo and Munguia are kind of peaking together. But here's the other thing. We were talking to Oscar De La Hoya on Tuesday, and I asked him, like, why don't you just do Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia 2 right away? Oh, he said, we don't do that in boxing, which is a bit of a weird statement because it happens all the time. Guess what? It's happening in this fight. He just got knocked out, and he's going right back into it. So are you surprised that he's going? Is it okay to do this because it was such a shock?
You've got to do this.
You've got to do it.
This it almost a bit reminds me like Amir Khan, Bradis Prescott many moons ago, where Amir Khan got knocked out and I was like, what? And Amir Khan never kind of did the get back.
Yeah.
And I was like, come on, Amir, come on. Munguia's got to do the get back.
Right.
He has to. Munguia wants to get his career back on track. And we want to take Munguia as a serious top level 168 pounder. He almost has to stop Bruno Saras the way Bruno
smoke
Saras.
Him. Like exclamation point.
And then immediately there are big fights out there, whether it be Berlanga, Pacheco, Caleb Plant, whoever. He's got to run through him. And this is a Munguia now that's kind of switching the trainers a little bit as well. So I think there's a lot of pressure on Munguia. A lot of pressure. Munguia has always been the guy that had sort of the cheerleader spokesperson of Oscar De La Hoya behind him. He never really spoke, almost within himself. Now he doesn't have that. I almost kind of feel like he needs to kind of come out of the shell a little bit. And I even mean that in the ring, because it almost felt like it was always Oscar beating the drum for him. And now Oscar's not there and he's with Top Rank. It was like, is Munguia's fighting? Oh, okay. I want to see a more loud and boisterous Munguia, and I think he might benefit from, again, being around those type of characters in the camp.
I mean, Canelo's come a long way, even with his English.
I love it.
It's so great to hear him speak. He talks some good smack. Even right before the face-off, he said something to Skull about bring your. I don't know. I don't know what the rules are. We're not on my platform.
B-I.
We're on yours.
H.
Excuse the language. What do you say? What's the line?
B-I.
No, you always say, like, please excuse our language.
Apologies for the something. Apologies for the language.
Yes.
There's so many memes about that for me now. But
how do you feel about your boy Bakole coming back so soon after the knockout? Has some of the aura gone away?
A little bit. I think even Billy Nelson, his trainer / manager, mentioned it as well. Like he said, we have to remind people that he still is the boogeyman. So I think even that by saying that, I think he's almost kind of said maybe people feel like he isn't the boogeyman anymore. He got knocked out. And look, it's a punch that I think could knock anyone out. But I remember there's this weird sort of, not weird, there's a video image of Usyk and AJ ringside watching it. And even they're in shock, like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Because remember he took one punch and he kind of shook it off like, is that all you've got?
Yeah.
Like, is that it? And then he got knocked out.
30 seconds later.
30 seconds later, he's out for the count. It's a quick turnaround.
Very
obviously
quick.
there'll be a 30-day suspension, and then so there's no sparring, or at least there shouldn't be
But
no
who
sparring.
adheres to this?
No, but
No one adheres to
No one. No one goes to someone's camp and checks.
Yes.
But they should,
Right.
because it was a bad knockout. But look, let's hope that as soon as he landed back in Congo, okay, yes, you can't do sparring, but you can get fit. Like, he needs to be around the 270, 280 mark. That 310 thing annoyed me. It annoyed me a lot.
I know you brought it up like 100 times.
I still do bring it up.
Yeah.
I'm bringing it up right now.
Did he respond to you? Because I mean, you pretty much like called him out.
Yeah.
You said that like he needs to go on Weight Watchers. You guys have that over there in the UK?
Yep. We do.
Okay. Yeah.
No, he hasn't responded.
Okay, thank
I think he
God.
knows I'm upset.
Yeah. Okay. He knows.
I think he knows I'm
He
upset.
knows you feel let down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I remember even Ben Shalom, when Ben Shalom announced it's going to be Martin Bakoli versus Joseph Parker, he came up to me and said, dude, you speak about Martin Bakoli more than anyone.
Yeah.
You're his biggest cheerleader. And I've been banging the bandwagon because, look, Martin Bakoli isn't necessarily a big name, doesn't sell tickets. So these opportunities that he's getting at this stage of his career are important because he's not a guy that immediately fills out a stadium. And he is kind of a risk reward, right? The risk is so high, the reward is quite low. So it's taken Billy Nelson and Martin Bakoli so long to get these opportunities. Just don't throw them away by being out of shape. That's what I ask.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. There's a lot of other things.
So much.
By the way, what a time for you to come to New York City because it feels like a dizzying period for the sport.
It's incredible.
The amount of news that is happening on an hourly basis in this sport is absurd. I mean, yesterday we had seismic news.
By the way, very quickly, should Mingira and Bruno Saras have been there?
I was thinking that.
And Bakoli, should they not have been there at that presser as well? I mean, I know it's the Canelo show and I get that. But
I'm okay with it.
Like,
I'm okay with it.
Really?
This is the kickoff. Fight week, you'll see them.
Well, we had all the other guys there on Tuesday. I mean, are they there?
Look at the star power.
Okay, cool.
It's a completely different ballgame.
Okay, cool.
Teofimo Lopez and Arnold Barbosa aren't exactly, Bruno Saras and Jaime Munguia. I'm just saying, fight week, yes, but that was a different thing. And also, that fight was happening here or is happening here. That card is happening here.
Okay,
this one isn't.
Okay, cool.
So much news, dizzying. On an hour-by-hour basis. Yesterday we spoke about the big TKO news. We wake up today to the news that Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano 3 is going to happen in this very city. Another Friday night card, July 11th.
So these Friday cards.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I don't mind it. Back on Netflix, the trilogy, and back where they first went toe-to-toe, right? And the last big fight to happen at this iconic venue known as Madison Square Garden, the Mecca. This is tremendous. And you know what's really interesting about it? There's multiple things. Number one, okay, it's a trilogy and they're running it back right away. Number two, no 3-minute rounds. Amanda Serrano and her team were really...
Not many trilogies with 2 defeats, is there?
Yeah.
I don't think there's been any in the history of the sport.
It's extremely rare.
Yeah, I don't think... I mean, obviously Wilder, Fury, but the first fight was a draw, technically, even though I thought Fury won.
Extremely rare.
I can't think... But it's not really 2 I mean, it is 2 on the record books, but they're so close.
There are some people who actually think Amanda won both fights. There are other people who think Amanda won... No,
that's why I'm not mad at it. Some people are like, oh, she's 2-0 up. Why are you doing it again? I'm like, shut up.
You hear that?
Yeah, I heard it. I couldn't believe it.
No, that's
my Twitter time
that means you
flooded.
That means you didn't watch the first 2 fights.
Yeah, they didn't watch it.
You're just looking at the records.
Agreed.
Okay, so number one, it's back at the iconic MSG venue where it was incredible. Of course, I know there's some fans of Katie Taylor who wish this could have happened in Ireland.
Should have happened.
There's so much politics. I don't understand it.
No, do I.
And 3 Arena just isn't quite big enough. It's not big enough.
Yeah.
Now, it's for her super lightweight titles, right? So they've gone up, same titles as the last fight.
Yeah.
No 3-minute rounds. Amanda Serrano and her team were trying to get the 3-minute rounds.
I'm happy that isn't happening.
That would have been a nice, fun little wrinkle.
I think 12 rounds as opposed to 10. I think that's the push. I think we get so much action in 2 minutes that I don't think you're going to get that.
The 2 minutes have made the fights incredible.
They're crazy. Like they come out and there's no feel out. There's like straight away, and I don't think you get that with 3-minute rounds. I personally don't think so.
The last super interesting note is it's an all women's card.
That's very interesting.
An all women's card. How do you feel about this?
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I think there's an all-women's card tomorrow in London. I think we've seen it before as well when Clarissa for Savannah Marshall. So we've got...
Never really happened here in the United States.
It hasn't.
Yeah.
You know, I want, what camera am I?
You're right here. You're right here.
Am I this one?
Yeah.
Clarissa Shields.
Oh, yeah.
Clarissa Shields needs to be on this fight card. And I know the problem with Clarissa is Clarissa's come out and said, look, I'm no co-main. If I'm not the main event, I'm not fighting. Clarissa has to be on this fight card. Now, it could be Shadisha Green. I don't know.
She called her out today. She said, we reached out to you. Shadisha Green called her out.
Reached out to Clarissa, and Clarissa's the one that's come back, and I've seen the tweets where she's like, well, I'm not on this. I'm like, just swallow your pride a little bit.
They want it.
This is it. This is
you get to fight on
the
Netflix?
biggest fight card in women's boxing history. This is it. And I get it, right? You're not the main event, but it's because you don't have the dance partner. Just be on the card. It will be history. And you can then almost just be alongside the fellow GOATs. Because that conversation of GOATs is a conversation. It's a debate. It's like the LeBron and
also
Jordan.
Be 1, 2, and 3 pound for pound, right?
100%. 100%.
How great would that be?
It would be sensational. And I want Clarissa to get that moment. And, she will probably watch this and say, Adi, I've had my moment, shut up.
Yeah.
No.
I had the Olympics.
I've had the Olympics.
Right.
I beat Savannah and I get all that. But your moment over here, that big moment over here, and I think if she fights Shadesha Green, co-main event, and gets paid a bucket load of money that she deserves, I think it'd be fantastic for this.
I do wonder how they populate the rest of the card. Like if there are 4, let's say there are 4 main card fights.
Yeah.
There's going to have to be other fighters that they're
looking at.
By the way,
Go.
Do you remember when we had Clarissa on?
Yeah.
Do you remember the one that really got her riled up?
Cyborg?
That's not a bad shout. No, it wasn't.
Who was it? Sorry.
You don't remember? I asked her a question.
Well, no, stop.
Is that crazy?
No.
Is that crazy?
What are you talking about? His daughter?
Yeah. Could you imagine? You remember I asked her, can you guys be friends?
Didn't she do a little thing with Andre Ward on all
Yes.
the podcasts talking about it?
That would be,
Dude.
That'd be wild.
Dude.
How old is she now?
I
think she's 40.
She's 42, 43.
Layla Ali?
Yeah.
No.
Older?
Yeah.
Oh, no,
47?
Then I don't want to see it. No,
I remember looking it up when she was on. 47.
No, it's too much. It's too much. There was so much heat with Alicia Baumgartner, but the weight seems to be a bit of an issue.
She's been kind of forgotten about.
Alicia.
You always bring her up.
You
always say you want her to fight Sky Nicholson,
Yeah,
right?
'cause Alicia-
But I feel like she's been completely forgotten about.
She has been. Obviously,
She has so much momentum.
So much, dude. She was everywhere.
Yeah.
And you felt like she was not just in terms of, you felt like she was at every single big fight.
Yes.
She was right there next to Eddie or someone.
She would be a great one for this
She'd
card.
be great because
she's got the
sells it.
star power.
Dude.
She's got the look. She's got the fighting style, the
Everything.
ferocity.
When that Clarissa Savannah fight happened, I know the main event was Clarissa Savannah. I'm telling you now, and I'm speaking from someone that is in the UK, all the heat was Michaela Meyer versus Alicia Baumgartner.
Yeah, that was great.
That was all the heat. Those two were literally just
They were
everywhere.
incredible, yeah.
And she needs to get a big fight again. I think Alicia's fantastic. She's got a great look. She comes, she gives you action in the ring. She sells the fight. She's good on the mic. She deserves an opportunity. She's been sort of tweeting recently about sort of a Saudi fight. And obviously that doesn't looks like it's forthcoming. So she needs to be on this one.
She also needs, I feel like she's kind of like a nomad right now as far as like not having a promotional muscle behind her, right? No, she had the Matchroom deal. She's no longer with Matchroom. She fought on a smaller platform that kind of flew under the radar. Like I feel like she needs someone banging the drum.
An MVP. She needs a Jake Paul.
Yeah.
Like she's perfect. She's almost perfect for that kind of sort of non-conformist like Jake Paul is. She's almost perfect for someone like Jake Paul to get behind and Nikisa, and I think they would really push her quite well.
I tell you who I'd like to see on the prelims tomorrow. Cheap plug for our good friends over at MVP. They have a show up in Canada in the 6. Our friends Wade Plem and Dan Canobio on the call. They have the Canadian Olympian Tamara Thibault.
You talk about her.
She's
more
so
than I
good.
talk about Maya Bakoli.
I like saying her name, but she is very good. She was supposed to win a gold medal.
Okay.
And then she lost in the first round. Nevertheless,
wait, she was supposed to win the gold
yes,
medal.
then she lost in the first round.
She lost in the final.
No, it was unfortunate. It was a heartbreaker. It was a truly shocking moment. Anyway, I feel like she could be, but they're doing the entire card, top to bottom, all
I wonder
women.
how many fights. I'm guessing it's going to be about 5 or 6.
Nah, I think maybe
it'd be
8.
Very intriguing.
Yeah.
The numbers, because a lot of people obviously said, but 60 odd million watch Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano. But let's be honest, it was in the whilst people were waiting for Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Now this is the main event. I'm intrigued to see if this goes past 10 or 15, which I think would be an incredible number. But we'll find out. We'll find out how much was. And I'm guessing a lot was Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, as opposed to how much is Katie and Amanda.
1,000%. But I think the byproduct of putting Katie and Amanda in the co-main event, the next day, I'm sure you experienced this as well. A lot of people who were watching that were like, yeah, I tuned in for Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, but holy crap.
They deliver.
They were, who are those women?
They deliver.
How did they do that? How did she fight with that cut? All that stuff. Like, they stole the show.
It's what they do. I mean, value for money. I mean, I can't think, honestly, and I mean this, I can't think of fighters, male or female, that in terms of when you buy your ticket, what you're going to get, more than Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor when they fight each other.
Together, magic.
When they fight each other together, you're like, okay, this is going to go off from the very first round. Like, don't go to the toilet. Don't start doing it. This is it from the first minute.
You were at that one at MSG, right?
I was at that one.
The atmosphere was incredible. Half Irish, half
I said
Puerto
it's
Rico.
the second best atmosphere I've ever experienced. Behind Josh Warrington fought a guy called Marissa O'Lara at Headingley, which ended after a couple of rounds.
Yeah.
But that place, it was basically just football fans.
Leeds, right?
In Leeds, yeah. It was just frightening. And this one was second because, as you say, half Puerto Rican, half Irish.
So good.
And they were going at each other with their anthems.
Yes.
I was like, this is
it was so good. And it was actually kind of fun. I don't know if they'll do it this time, but remember Eddie and Jake were sitting ringside and kind of cheering for their girl.
Don't know if that will happen.
It made for a fun scene.
Yeah, even just the way they were kind of going at each other in the press conferences, I think it was fantastic because Eddie, Eddie's got a bit of wit about him. Jake's a lot different from the Jake that was going back and forth with Eddie this time. He's now a powerhouse, right? Yeah. So I think those two made the fight as well. And I think it's important that those two are involved again, like professionally.
Who do you favor?
Oh, it's a tough one.
It's close.
Hard. It's so,
I wonder what the odds are.
It's weird, although Katie's won twice on the record books, you almost feel like she's a punch away from getting stopped all the time.
Oh my God.
Like all the time you think
first round she almost got stopped.
And then she has these powers of recovery that can she continually have that? And I think people need to understand as well the amount of weight Amanda's given away here. Like Amanda's on 126, 130. She's 114.
14, yeah.
She's given away so much weight all the time. So I think I'm going for the hat trick. I've got to go for the hat trick.
Katie's a slight favorite. Minus 136, Amanda plus 106.
That's close.
No, very close.
Swing.
Very close.
Yeah,
and the fight was just announced.
Yeah, that could swing.
I think you kind of have to lean towards her because she won the first two, although the second controversy, the first, Amanda and her team think they won both. It really does not get talked about enough how big of a jump. Like we'll harp on Crawford Canelo, we'll harp on Ben Eubank. She is legitimately a 126 pounder.
Yeah.
She's gone up and down, 7 different weight classes. It's absurd. And she's now, this first fight happened at 135. She now has to go up to 140. Although for the weigh-ins in November, they were like 137, 138. Really, but still, that's still a big...
Where is she based? Like, where does she live?
Amanda Serrano, New York.
Okay, so Katie's got into her backyard twice.
Yeah.
One of these should have been in Croke Park. This is embarrassing. The fact that the Irish government can bring the NFL and spend that money to bring the NFL over, and considering what Katie Taylor's done for Irish boxing, just Irish sport in general, park boxing for a second, just Irish sport, the fact that they needed the government's help to sort of finance this Croke Park thing, and they didn't get it, and the NFL, and I get it, right? NFL is trying to populate itself all over the world, I get it, but come on, man.
What's up with them?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know if there's something more, there's an ulterior motive, but how Katie didn't get the backing to do this at Croke Park. All she wants is Croke Park. That's all she wants is that fight in Croke Park, 80,000. And I don't know if 80 would turn up, but I tell you now, more than 60 would. It would be close.
Oh my God.
Need to get to that number.
I think if it would have been her first fight back, right?
It's definitely done.
It would have been 80.
Yeah, it's definitely done.
It doesn't make any sense other than the fact that I know there was some, criminal activity and the security, and they were like, we just don't want to deal with this. But they have since had several shows back in Ireland. Of course, they always have them in Belfast. It is a shame.
Yeah.
And you kind of feel like the ship has sailed after this one. They're not going to fight for a fourth time.
I didn't think we'd get to Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano free. So the fact that we've got here, I'm like, surely. When I heard that there were rumors about this, I was like, and I heard that rumors in the summer, I was like, okay, this is it then.
Yeah.
I mean, this has to be it. I mean, she's gone to Madison. Basically, she's gone to America twice to fight Amanda. Surely one's got to be back in Ireland. So I feel sorry for her that she hasn't got her dream.
If Amanda wins, do we see a fourth?
Yeah.
Because, isn't that the,
Yeah. Oh, that means we need to see a fifth.
And then we see a fifth. And then
maybe I'd rather them fight each other than fight other opponents at this stage. Because I do think
Chantel Cameron, you don't like that?
I think both of them can get beat by other girls. I really do. I really do. I
would like to see the Chantel Cameron fight one more time. They're 1-1.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, I don't know. Chantel's a very big 140 pounder, and I saw it that day.
By the way, those two fights were tremendous as well.
And Kate, this is why the GWOAT conversation.
Yes.
And Dimitri Salita tries not to have it and tries to shut it down. I remember seeing him in the gym, and he came up to me and I was like, dude, have you looked at who? This isn't a case of who is the better boxer. All of that can be debated if we want to have that debate as well. But it's a case of who have they fought.
Yeah.
And it's not Clarissa's fault that she's a 160 or 160 because there's no one out there for her to fight, right? I mean, if she was fighting the level of Savannah Marshall every other fight, then absolutely. But if you look at who Katie Taylor has fought, it's actually laughable.
No, it is.
The names on that list, honestly, I mean, even like name Delphine Pursoon, like hard as nails. And then Natasha Jonas, as you say, Chantel Cameron, Amanda Serrano.
And she's also undisputed in 2 different weight classes too.
It's crazy. And the fights that she's having with these people, she isn't cakewalking them. She's having to go to the well every single time when you think, okay, she's done. She's done. And then she seems to find something again. Nah, I'm sorry. Katie Taylor's just, for me, she's the GOAT based off who she's fought. I can understand the argument for Clarissa. If Clarissa had those level of opponents, I think Clarissa would beat them. But she doesn't, unfortunately. You look at the last couple of fights at heavyweight. I mean, the last lady was, 4-1? 4-0, something like that?
No, the heavyweight undisputed, with all due respect, is
you know what I mean?
Real...
And that, again, this is no slight on Clarissa, but if you don't have the opponents, where you look at who Katie's fighting, it's actually remarkable.
I do wonder if she wins, could this be it?
For Katie?
Yeah.
Dude, I wanted Katie to retire after the first Madison Square Garden.
I think Eddie did too.
Yeah, I was like, this is the perfect way to bow out.
Yeah.
This is incredible. And then when she lost to Chantel and then beat her again, I was like, okay, stop. And then when she fought in front of 100 million people on Netflix, I was like, okay.
Yeah, this is it.
She's had about 4 or 5 opportunities to kind of
feels like the perfect one. If there isn't going to be a Croke Park and if there's no interest in part 3 against Chantel Cameron and you win, if she loses, she probably goes back to the well. But this sort of feels like it.
You know what it is, though? You know what it is about her? All she likes to do is box.
I know.
I don't know her personally like that, but I've been around her a few times. All she talks about is fighting. There is no other thing.
Yeah.
It's God and it's boxing. That's it. So as long as she can still box, she's boxing. That's it, honestly. As long as she can still throw hands with someone, she's fighting. There is no stopping her.
I love the fact that she's one of the most famous people to come from Ireland, yet she lives in Connecticut in some sleepy town where they probably no one has any idea who she is.
No, just walks around. I mean, she probably goes to the shop and nobody knows.
No one has any idea.
I think she loves that.
And then she could probably go back home and be mobbed and be miserable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She prefers this, which says a lot about her.
Yeah, that's
really
just her character.
Say a lot about her.
Really, honestly, I love Katie Taylor. There's
both of them.
She's fun. And you're right, both of them. I mean, Amanda, and this is a bit of a random story, but I remember one of my first times even meeting Amanda, I'd said a couple of things about her, polite things, and she'd seen me, her and a manager, and they saw me downstairs. This is just chilling downstairs. And they said, Addy, what are you doing? Do you want to come for breakfast? And I was like, me? I'm happy to come. We went for breakfast. I sat down with her for about an hour. She's telling me about her life. Again, I don't really know her like that.
Right.
But she's obviously seen I work for DAZN and she's seen a couple of things I've said about her. She bought me breakfast. I offered to pay, but no, don't pay.
Did you do the dinosaur hands?
You know the thing about it's coming. Then we went into a trainer or a sneaker store, and she's shopping for trainers. And she's like, "Addy, pick a couple." And I'm like, "Huh? What? What do you mean pick a couple? What are we doing?" She literally bought me like 3 pairs of trainers.
3?
I'm not even joking. 3 pairs, and I was like, "What?"
For the American audience, trainers,
sneakers, and I'm like, "Wow." And I wasn't going to turn them down. I was like, okay, how can I?
Nice ones? Like, what are we talking?
Yeah,
Travis Scott's?
No, you know when you like, should I go out that one?
Yeah.
You know the ones that got the plastic around them? I was like, leave those ones alone.
Yeah.
And look, again, I don't really know of her like that. We don't have that personal relationship. But she just seemed to want to just sort of give out gifts.
Wow.
And I was like, this is incredible. So I love both. You are correct.
Well,
Katie, you want to buy me trainers, Katie, if I can get on your side, I'm happy to take trainers.
No, but they're salt of the earth human beings.
Oh, wonderful.
You know, and actually Nikisa Badarian, co-founder of MVP, said today that when she makes that walk, Amanda Serrano, she'll be the highest paid female athlete of all time for like one singular event, I do believe. And he would know.
What's that number? What's the Ronda Rousey number? That's the one.
He referenced Ronda Rousey and her fight against Holly Holm back in 2015. Yeah. He would know, by the way.
He was the guy?
He was the CFO of the company when this happened.
What do you think that number could have been?
I don't think it's above 10.
Okay.
But it's in that range.
That's crazy.
For someone who, by the way, back in the day was making like 20K?
Dude, that's crazy. Because I will say this. I can't think of 7 male fighters that'll be making that type of money. You start to hear crazy numbers, which I don't always think are true for Riyadh season. Those kind of like, oh, he's making 100.
Right.
I don't think there are 7 male fighters making that. So again, credit to both. And if she's making that, Katie must be close to that as well.
You would think, you would think. Want to talk about some other news. Last 24 hours, more news has come out. The WBC ordering Dimitri Bivol to fight David Benavidez. I don't hate this. Usually when these things happen, you know, it's like,
you pick and choose.
well, it's annoying, but in this case,
you choose.
Listen, no one would be upset if they run it back right away. And I sort of kind of feel like that's the direction we're going in. But this is not this isn't, you know, William Skull has to fight Canelo Alvarez.
No, this is the next man up.
Yeah.
And what an incredible fight.
How would you feel about it?
It's funny because it's not the fight of all the kind of the matchmaking that me and you were playing. This isn't the one we said. We said Benavidez, but Serbia.
Well, I just wanted Benavidez to fight the winner.
Yeah, no, and rightly so. I think he deserves it as well.
But that is the best combo. Benavidez Beterbiev would have been the best combo just because they're just like robots going zombies. Again, it's exciting. I don't think it actually happens, but these days these situations are the ones that Turkey and Dana are trying to get rid of.
Yeah.
We're going to decide. You're not going to tell us who's going to fight who.
We want, but this is almost one where I think they would side with it.
Well, yes.
This is almost one where, like, okay, we're cool with that as well. I would prefer to see Bivol Benavidez, but I think Beterbiev deserves. I mean, as you say, they've shared 24 rounds and it's probably 13-11 or 12-12.
Yeah.
That's how close it is. How can that guy be denied an opportunity to get his belts back? Do you know? But if that weren't to happen because of injuries or whatever, then yeah, Benavidez stepping up is crazy. And now obviously there's rumors about, you know, Benavidez stopping or knocking Bivol down in sparring, which I think the guy got wrong when he was on Joe Rogan's show initially, saying it was Bivol that knocked down Benavidez.
Yeah.
I think he's somehow
Peter Berg, right?
Peter Berg, and now he's come back and said, sorry, I got it wrong. It was Benavidez. I'm like, how have you got that wrong?
That's a big one.
Did someone message you and say, okay,
1,000%?
Yeah. So all of a sudden that fight has a little bit of something to it. I will say this. I do think the two people that we saw fight recently are heads and shoulders above every other light heavyweight. And I really do mean
Yeah.
I honestly, I think Beterbiev and Bivol are just... And I think Benavidez is a close third, but But
Artur has how many more fights left? He's 40.
And that's why I think he deserves these opportunities.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because he is that. Because he is 40. And the last couple of rounds was the first time I actually saw that he was 40. I was like, my God, you actually are human. You're 40. I feel like it's give him it now because I don't want him to wait another year and he's 41, going to be 42. I'm like, just let him have that in October or wherever it's going to be. And then Benavidez can take on Callum Smith or something in the interim.
Let me ask you this. Mark Shapiro, who's the COO and president of TKO, he said in a investor call last week that they're going to put on these 4 super fights, the new group, right? And so we all presume that the first one will be Canelo Crawford. Our friend Chris Mannix reported today that they're hoping one of them is AJ Fury, which is going to be interesting because you're going to have to play ball with others, you know, Eddie and Spencer Brown and Frank Warren, etc. Any of these guys, like, I was thinking then, is Canelo Bivol big enough?
Canelo Bivol?
Yeah. Is Canelo Benavidez big enough? Like, I'm trying to think what the 4 are. If those 2 are the first 2, then that's tremendous. Like, if you do Crawford, imagine you do Crawford Canelo in September and say AJ Fury in December.
Yeah.
Then what are the 2?
Shakur Gervonta? Shakur Gervonta, 100%.
I think Gervonta's playing ball.
Yeah, I think you play
Money
ball.
talks?
I think money talks. I think you play ball. I don't know what the numbers
You think
are
that's
yet.
big enough?
Yeah.
You don't think it's another Canelo fight? Because remember, he signed a 4-fight deal, so he would be down to 2 at this
but
point.
I do think there's another demographic and another audience you need to try and get. And I do think
Canelo Benavidez.
No, I think there's a younger audience that I think Shakur and Gervonta get. Completely different audience, I think. Look, any Canelo fight's a huge one. Look, by the way, if Canelo beats Crawford, then I mean, what I'm saying, just retract it. Because then Canelo versus Bivol or whoever.
What's bigger, Canelo Bivol 2 or Canelo against Benavidez?
Canelo Benavidez.
Because that's like kind of the one we've been talking about.
That's the one, isn't it?
And Benavidez has a way more popular fan base here in America than Dimitri Bivol. Like only the hardest of hardcores.
And Benavidez, look.
Benavidez look what he just did February 1st in Vegas. Like that arena was packed, T-Mobile Arena.
He sold that fight so well.
He did all the talking.
It was fantastic. I think once you give him the mic, this guy's so comfortable. Not every fighter is. Some fighters like to shy. and let their manager or promoter deal with it. He wants to be the guy in front of the camera. I think he's fantastic. And I'm so upset I wasn't able to get him on a stage in Saudi to speak to him, because I think he's there's something about him. But yeah, look, if Canelo beats Crawford and then Canelo calls for the Benavidez fight, or somehow Turkey makes that fight happen, oh my Lord. Oh my Lord.
So let's say that's number 3. What's number 4? I wonder what's number 4. What's big enough for number 4? The winner of AJ Fury against someone. I mean, maybe against Usyk? No. Against Dubois.
Are we playing super fights in our head? Are we any weight class? Then Inoue versus question mark.
Bam. Yeah, Inoue would be fun, but not big enough here.
Okay.
These are like mega. They're trying to get the biggest of the biggest.
Then
things have to play out, and different permutation can come.
Yeah,
from
and by the
this
way,
fight
he's been kind of speaking about things like Jai versus. I know this is for you, it's not big, but I'm talking sort of a global audience, like Jai versus Usyk. Like I can't
say for me, it's not big. Jai versus
no, because you might say they're not American. They're both not American.
Well,
they're both not American. That's the only reason I say that.
What did Dana White say yesterday? Dana White said yesterday, we are going to focus on building it here in America. What about this one? Alexander Usyk? Alex Pereira.
You and this Pereira. Okay, so what? A Brazilian versus a Ukrainian?
No, maybe one of the biggest stars in the UFC. What are you talking about? The biggest star in the UFC going up against the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world.
And look, I love Pereira. Every time you get him or I watch it, I love it. It'd get absolutely
murdered.
Starched.
2-division champion.
No, he'll get
glory.
starched. Oh
2-division UFC champion.
You're talking about him fighting one of the greatest fighters to ever exist.
There's something there. Usyk didn't say that out of nowhere. Remember when he was doing that media day in London? All of a sudden, he's like, I got 2 fights left, and one of them is Alex Pereira. What?
You know what it is as well with Usyk? I think it's fun fights now at this stage of his career. He's probably thinking, I did the AJ thing, so I become unified. I've beaten Fury back to back. Everything now, with all due respect to anyone stepping up, is a step down from those 2 monumental wins. It's like a big step down. So
I'm calling Joseph
Parker.
Probably,
he's probably thinking, Dubois, I've already beat you.
Yeah.
Parker, okay, we can do it, but there's not much. There isn't much heat in it, you know. And people not. I would like to see it, but not when everyone's screaming for it. Bacoli getting knocked out didn't help.
Right.
So that's kind of now Bacoli's down. There isn't much. So you're right. Maybe Pereira, maybe, but I do think it's more likely Jao Pataya. I do think Jao Pataya moving up from cruiserweight to try and become. And 2 guys.
There's a greater chance of the Pereira fight than the Jao Pataya fight. There's no upside for him to take that fight. This like super.
What is the upside in beating a UFC light heavyweight champion?
Why did Canelo Alvarez come literally like 30 seconds away from signing to fight Jake Paul?
Wait. So you think there's a lot of money in a Pereira fight?
Hell yes, there is. Are you some kind of casual? Alex Pereira is one of the most famous fighters on the planet. Period.
I love Pereira, but I just don't.
Listen, I'm not advocating. I'm just trying to think what the fourth one is.
Crossover things that we've seen. I think everyone's trying to do crossover UFC versus boxer. Like the only one that made sense is the one that made the money. All the others are like, and it's like, I remember when Kamaru was calling that Canelo. I'm like,
yo, I think you're underestimating how popular Alex Pereira is. He's very popular.
Yeah, but the fact that you say this, right, and you could be true, but as you know, I kind of dip my toes in the UFC, but quite hardcore boxing. The fact I'm even telling you, no boxing fan knows who Pereira is. I do.
You're right.
I do, and I've followed all of his career since he joined the UFC, and I think he's frightening. By the way, you have to wait until Saturday, by the way. This conversation could end.
That's a good
point. Conversation could end on Sunday.
Me, especially the guy who's saying, like, don't put the cart before the horse. Yes, Magomed Ankalaev.
Yeah, but I don't know. So, okay, very quickly then. The 4. So, what? So,
Canelo Crawford. Let's just say AJ Fury. Possible?
Definitely possible. The numbers that could be chucked up for that one.
Yeah.
That's the biggest financial fight of all of these.
Yep. And they could be the ones, by the way, Dana could be the one to say, I got it done. You know what I mean?
Oh, my God.
I got it done. You guys couldn't get it done. I got it done. I got the biggest heavyweight fight of all time done. Doesn't have the same cachet as it did 3 years ago, but
still,
that's a huge feather in his cap.
Dude, yeah.
When in reality, it's Turkey's money that got it done. But, tomato. And, all right, so then I think the third is Canelo.
It's got to be Javante. So you said America. To kickstart American boxing, it's got to be Javante Shakur.
I'm just.
It's got to be. You said it. Dana said we need to kickstart American boxing. You've got two young kids here. Well, young-ish.
Yeah.
It's Shakur. It's Shakur. Because with Shakur, you get Crawford, you get Andre Ward, and in an ideal world with Javante, you could get Floyd, but it won't happen. But you get those two. You get everything. It's the whole package. It has to be.
Let me ask the chat. The chat, we're live right now. Just a few minutes left on the program. Let us know in the chat right now who you think that fourth fight should be. We both agree on...
We both agree on two.
We agree on two. I think one of the third or fourth fight has to feature Canelo. Canelo ain't signing up to just be a bit player.
Okay, question. What if Crawford wins?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Well, no. No, seriously. Well, does Crawford stay at 168? What does Crawford do? There's no one to fight at 160. I wonder what Crawford does if he wins.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't even pondered that yet.
No one has. Because everyone's been saying Canelo versus Bivol.
Well, because he
Canelo
signed this
Benavidez,
four-fight deal.
Canelo this, and Crawford's like, oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, really?
You know what? I have to admit.
Really?
Well, okay. Then it's the rematch.
Then it's the rematch.
Right?
And then the rematch is enormous.
The rematch is even bigger,
It's enormous, yeah.
And what are they saying?
You know what this does do? What the conversation we're having, it shows that there are a number of fighters that seem to be in like this mid-tier or superstardom, and there aren't that many big Goliaths. There aren't that many big, like, oh my God, superstars. The fact that we've mentioned Canelo's name 2 or 3 times as being on this list twice says a lot. That boxing needs to push those next guys up.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? There's about 5 or 6 stars. That's it.
The part of the reason why I'm bringing him up multiple times is just because he signed this 4-fight deal. They're together. I still think he's kind of the global face of boxing.
Who do you think Turkey would want to win? Because you know Turkey is quite obvious in who he wants to win these fights. No, he is, isn't he? He's quite like he'll go and he'll say it.
He calls up Fury Usyk and he's like, "Don't screw it up for me."
This is it, right?
Yeah.
Who do you think he would want to win, Canelo or Crawford? Because he seems to be very cool with Crawford.
Very cool, yeah.
Like, very cool.
My guess is Canelo because of the big 4-fight deal.
Okay.
And they seem to be quite close right now.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
Okay.
By the way, this weekend, Cinco de Mayo weekend has really become. I saw today people saying, is this the greatest weekend of boxing? Not everything has to be the greatest these days. It's a lot of greatest right now. Was that the greatest card? Was this? But those 3 fights,
Jordan,
the 3 fights on Friday in Times Square, then you got this Canelo card, and then you end it with a Sunday night Naoya Inoue card against Cardenas. That's not bad.
It's not bad.
It's actually incredible. You'll have...
I needed something a bit juicier.
So...
Inoue. I needed something just a little... Inoue's not fought here in front of fans.
Yeah.
I'm going to say for like 8 years. He had that fight, I remember it was behind closed doors. So he's not fought for 8 years. And this is not, I feel like, it's all so bad, kind of pooing on Cardenas. It's not that. I just kind of like, anyways, fighting here in America, give me something.
Well, the biggest one possible is probably Nakatani.
And which really, that means that should be really in Asia.
Yeah.
And
has to be.
Akhmadaliev.
And they said, again, another one where they're like, 2-fight deal, we're going to fight this one, and then the other one in September. The Uzbek, but the thing is, Nakatani has to be in Japan. Like this guy just fought 6, 7, 8 fights in Japan, and then all of a sudden he has this other guy from Japan, and they're going to do it in Las Vegas. There's no chance.
You're right. Boxing's a worldwide sport, and I think we've seen this more than ever in the last couple of years. Fights in Australia, fights in Saudi, everywhere apart from Africa, by the way. But we'll get to that another time. Inoue versus Nakatani in Vegas will be a crime to the sport of boxing. It'll be a crime to the people of Japan who've almost now fully got behind both fighters, and both of them are doing arenas and stadiums. For that fight to be anywhere apart from Japan is a crime.
By the way, they're throwing out, shout out to the chat, thumbs up to the chat, thumbs up. They're throwing out Garcia Tank at 140.
No?
Nah,
Tank's too small.
What about just Garcia Tank 2?
Yeah.
That's not bad.
It's not bad at all. It's not bad. If they can... Yeah, I get all very, rehydration cap, you're right. Just... Fight fans don't... the casual fight fans don't really care about stuff as much as we do. That fight would be enormous.
Garcia Haney too. I know the plan, they said October, but this is before we knew about all these other plans.
Garcia Haney too. Yeah, that's a big fight.
You know what I mean?
That's a very big fight.
That is a big fight.
That's a very...
Especially for America.
Very big fight. Yeah, agreed. That's a very big fight, this one isn't maybe as big, but I really do like the idea of Virgil Ortiz versus Boots Ennis.
Oh, it's a great fight, but it's not on the level.
It's not on that level. Yeah, I think Virgil's a star. And
then the big question that we have to ask is like, all right, Turkey has always said, I want all the promoters to work together. I want everyone to be, on the same page. But will these guys be available? Virgil Ortiz is a Golden Boy guy. Boots, at least for now, is a Matchroom guy.
I'm sure they can rent out, hire them out.
You think so?
Yeah, like the good old blockbuster movie days, just hire them out for.
You don't think Oscar will be like, nah, we're not letting you do that?
I think Oscar will like, what's the number?
Yeah,
you can borrow him. Yeah.
You know what I'd love to know, by the way? No one's really brought this up. Tell me if you know the answer. How much did Oscar sell the ring for?
What a great question.
You know, it just kind of like happened.
Great question.
We need to ask him.
Yeah.
No wonder he looks so good on Tuesday, huh?
He is. He's done all that. His face. He done some face thing. I was like, well, how much did that cost? He's like, quite a lot.
You asked him that?
Of course I did. Because you know why? I saw him. I was like, your face looks good, dude. And I think he showed where his face kind of got messed up.
Wait, this is on camera?
This is in Saudi. Just before we went live. Just before we went live. And I was like, dude, your face. Remember he did it, and then I think he.
Did you ask him about the abs? Did you touch the abs?
No, I didn't touch the abs.
The abs are incredible. I touched them.
Did you see his video that he put on the private?
Oh, yeah. Stop it with that. He is a legend, but I have to say, I do wonder, and what a purchase, by the way, right? Because, let's be honest, the Ring magazine was kind of fizzling off there for the last few years.
An online magazine.
Yeah.
I'm a guy that likes the physical, magazines, and it became an online one. And I used to buy the Ring magazine a lot in the UK, and then it became it's online. I'm like, I don't want it anymore. So the idea of it now being given this push, and I always used to go to the Ring magazine for the pound for pound rankings, and then because that's what I trusted, not Box Rec or anything like that. It was
the Bible.
What do Rings say?
Yeah.
And then it kind of have the old stories, the archive stories, and I thought the Ring magazine was fantastic. And then speaking to fighters, I remember speaking to Sergio, and Sergio was on the front cover of the Ring magazine from when he won Contender, and he said the idea of being on the Ring magazine front cover was as big as winning a world title for him. To grace the front cover. So it means a lot. It means a lot, but it kind of did die a little bit.
Yeah.
But now it's clearly fully risen.
It's a brand new day, Ade.
It's a brand new day.
Look at us. An hour on Tuesday, an hour on Wednesday, an hour on Thursday. Ain't no thing.
No, this is work. I could do this. I could do this forever, but I've got a plane to catch. I've got to get back to London.
Okay, he's got to go.
I could literally do this forever. And I might just fly here all the time.
Every Tuesday. Come in, come out.
Do you think I should do it?
You could take that 11 p.m. flight. There's an 11 p.m. You could do the show at 5. Yeah. Take the red eye Monday night. You land here.
Okay.
Early morning.
Yeah. So how long? So what? So I land here.
Your boots on the ground. 24 hours.
I'll do it.
Maybe even less. 20.
20. I mean,
we'll talk.
Does the chat want it?
Does the chat want it? Guys, I do have to let you know, if this is your first time watching this special Thursday edition of the program,
tell me.
We are live every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 10 in the UK, doing this exact show.
We should do it twice a week. There's so much going on in boxing. I don't know if once a week's enough anymore.
You're right.
I'm serious.
At least for an hour.
Yeah.
Once a week for an hour is not enough.
Yeah. It's not. No, it's not.
No,
because by the time we film on Tuesday, it's kind of old on Wednesday.
Okay, by the way, we're live right now. We shouldn't be talking these types of economics and business.
If the zone want to pay more.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, you can watch us live every Tuesday, 5 p.m., 10 in the UK, 2 in the West. It's called Ariel and Ade. You can also watch it on the DAZN app. There's a big weekend. There's actually a Golden Boy card happening right now on DAZN, so go check that out. Sergio Pettis is fighting in India tomorrow morning in a boxing match. Yes, it's true. And then we cap off the day with a big card over in Toronto. Most Valuable Promotions, the return of Lucas Prince Badi. And what's her name? I've mentioned her like 10 times.
Such a difficult name to pronounce, though.
Tamara Thibault.
Tamara Thibault, who should have won Olympic gold medal
and lost.
Got beat in the first round, but we don't remember that.
We don't remember that.
She's going to be world champion. She's going to be world champion.
Good luck to her tomorrow night. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week. Enjoy the fights.